When a woman has seen me as you have, she loves me forever. This is what the hideous phantom says to Christine when she rips off his mask. Seems a little counterintuitive. Well, today it is The Phantom of the Opera, which is a kind of a romance, gothic horror novel by Gaston Leroux. Like many novels written in 100 years ago or so, it was serialized from 1909 to 1910. Then it was compiled into a book. And it's based on some actual events. Now, the characters are kind of a conflicted group. First, we have Eric. Now, Eric is actually the Phantom, and he's the opera ghost and angel of music, and sometimes he seems to be somebody's father. And then there's Christine. She's a young Swedish soprano that the Phantom is obsessed over. And then we have Viscount Raoul. He was a friend of the beautiful Christine's from childhood. They parted for a while, but he sees her again, and he becomes obsessed over her. Persian is a mystery man who knows the Phantom's whole story. And we have Madame Geary. She's an old, fussy lady who runs errands for the Phantom, you might say, but she doesn't really know who he is. And Carlotta, who is your archetypical operatic prima donna. So this novel is narrated by a detective. Leroux, the author himself, is playing the role of a detective, and he uses memoirs and first-hand accounts to create his book. The plot centers around a love triangle. Now, there's a gala performance of the opera, and Carlotta is supposed to sing and is expected to sing, but she mysteriously falls ill, and a little-known girl, basically from the chorus line, Christine, fills in for her, and what do you know? She turns out to be the best singer anybody's ever heard. And so Raoul, who has a crush on her, as we said, contacts her, and they meet up, and she talks about an entity called the Angel of Music, a voice she hears, and she does hear voices, saying he wants to help her, that he loves her, and that she should give everything up for music, which she would sing only for him. So there are a lot of mysterious things that go on. You won't be surprised to know that a lot of people hear voices, they see shadows, things break. So the whole thing about there being the opera ghost is what they're all talking about, and everybody is a little tense. The opera house has new management, and before the old managers left, they said, by the way, there's a ghost. You are going to need to deal with this ghost, and he requires a few things from you. For one thing, the box, for wealthy patrons, have a private room to watch the opera. That box 5 belongs to the ghost, and you must never, ever sell it. Mrs. Geary will take care of him for you. You don't need to do anything about it. And also, he expects a salary, a rather large salary. Well, the new managers think it's a prank, and they don't pay any attention to him. One of the things that the ghost/phantom is demanding is that Carlotta, the prima donna, be laid off, fired, sent packing, and that Christine should get all the nice, juicy roles. But since they think it's a prank, and they are certainly not wanting to pay salary to this prankster, Carlotta goes ahead and sings the song, which brings out one of the most dramatic scenes in the whole book, where she is unknowingly, obviously, poisoned by the Phantom. And when she tries to sing, she starts croaking like a toad. And she's a very proud person. This is a disaster for her. And so she keeps trying to sing, and she keeps croaking. Everybody's laughing. And then, on top of all that, the chandelier there's this big chandelier hanging down over the opera, and it breaks loose and crashes and kills someone in the audience. And on top of that, Christina is abducted. Well, her abduction shows us what's going on underneath the opera house in Paris. There's huge. It's huge. It goes down 5 stories. The opera house itself goes up 17 stories, says the book, but it goes down 5. And it's these cellars, caves, caverns, and there's a lake, an actual lake at the very bottom of the opera house. And this is where the Phantom lives. He lives there. He has built himself a cozy little Victorian-looking house down there. And this is where he takes poor Christine. So one of the main tensions of the story is Christine's feelings about the Phantom. At first in the story, she thinks that it's her father talking to her from heaven. So when she hears this voice that's encouraging her to sing and all, she kind of thinks she's hearing from her father. Then before he died, because he is dead, he says before he dies, he says, I'm going to send you the angel of music, whatever that is. So she thinks, well, it's either dad or it's this angel of music. So after a while, she settles on, all right, I guess this voice I keep hearing and who is always arranging for me to be able to sing must be the angel of music. But when she gets carried down into the Phantom's lair, she realizes that it's no angel of music. It's not dear old dad. It's the Phantom of the Opera, a rather scary ghost who wears a mask. So she rips off his mask, and she's pretty horrified at what he looks like. He's deformed. Apparently he was born with a deformity at birth. So they have some conversation about that, and finally he says to let her go if she comes back and visits him every once in a while, which, believe it or not, she does, because she kind of loves him. This is the strange thing about the story that makes it so interesting, and it provides, like I say, the tension to the story. And she doesn't flat out hate him. She has had several opportunities to completely escape him, and she doesn't. She keeps going back and visiting him. He's giving her music lessons, who knows what else, in his basement by the subterranean lake. Well, he becomes a bit oppressive. And she does love Raoul. This is Viscount Raoul. She is very fond of him. He's just a normal guy. And he's been doing a little investigating around, and he's thinking this is a terrible monster who has this girl I love enthralled. So they go up to the roof of the Paris Opera House, where they don't think the Phantom will go. They think he's a creature of the depths, but he does follow them. So they have a long conversation where they talk about absolutely everything that's going on. She talks about how she doesn't love the Phantom, how she's terrified of him, but she's around him sometimes, and the music, because he plays the violin very well, it reminds her of her dear old dad, and she has sympathy for him because she thinks he's pitiful. Well, when the Phantom hears this, he is enraged, and once again, he abducts Christine and takes her down to the dungeon, but he's not so thrilled with her now. And Raoul and the Persian. The Persian is, like I said, this mysterious person kind of hangs around the opera house. No one really knows what his purpose there is, but he knows all about the ghost because he knew him from way back in the day. And he doesn't like him, but he knows about him. He's scared of him. Everybody knows this guy is scared of him. So he and Raoul, the Persian Raoul, follow the follow the Phantom down into the bowels of the opera house, and they get on a boat and cross the lake. I forgot to mention the boat earlier. You have to get on a boat to cross the lake to get to his cozy little Victorian house down there, which he sleeps in a coffin, by the way, and he has a pipe organ. He has an organ, maybe a pump organ, and he plays Bach and other scary bits of music on it. Totally horror story material. So they're crawling around the works of the basement down there, and they find a trapdoor, and they jump through it because they think it's going to take them right over his house. and they fall into this torture chamber. And then the book is even weirder because the torture chamber turns out to be like a house of mirrors. It's like a room, mirrors on all sides, and a metallic tree in the middle. And what happens next is almost like an acid trip. If this book had been written in the 60s, somehow the Count's able to turn up the heat or make it rain or scary animals. He just kind of turns this torture chamber into some kind of a spook show. It gets hotter and hotter, and they are probably going to die. And poor Christine is trying to find her way to get the key so she can let him out. And she does not succeed, but they find another trapdoor, and it leads down to another chamber, which is full of gunpowder. And then the deal comes about. The Count tells not Count, I don't say Count. I think I'm thinking of Dracula, so I keep calling him the Count. The Phantom. The Phantom tells Christine that she has to choose him or the Phantom's going to blow up the entire opera house. So she chooses him reluctantly, but by then a whole mob of people who have also been following along, the archetypical mob with the torches are chasing after him, and everything turns out all right. But at the very end, there's this touching scene because remember, Christine does not purely hate him. So they give each other, the mask is off. She sees what he really looks like. She gives him a kiss on his forehead, and he kisses her on the forehead, and he releases them. He says, "You and Raoul just go off and get married. You're the first person that's ever kissed me, and just when I die, just please come and put this ring on my finger," and that's all what happens. And Raoul and Christine elope, and that's the end of the story. Now, I don't think this is a very good book. It had started out scary enough. I mean, for a horror story, it wasn't very horrifying. Just a person with a scarred face who lives in the basement. Like I said, it's kind of scary, but we find out pretty soon who he is and what he's doing, and the mystery doesn't last very long. And most of it is given up to the love affair between her and Raoul. Do I love him? Do I hate him? How can I leave him? All that kind of thing, and a lot of nonsense about the angel of music. And the ending, the whole scene in the torture chamber is unconvincing. Let's just say that. Well, you won't be surprised to know that there are a lot of movies out about this. I watched 4 of them, and I will give a brief rundown on each one. The oldest one is 1925 with Lon Chaney as the Count. This one, black and white, silent. It is amazing how well they told the story without any audio to it, just the orchestra playing. And the actors were really, really, really good. They have to portray all of this emotion and carry the whole story just a lot of times just by eye glance, just looking. And the interior of the opera house is beautiful. It's not just some set. It's just beautiful. I wonder if they used an actual opera house. And this version is actually hilarious at times because a lot of fun can be made of the 2 managers as they try to figure out who they think is hoaxing them. This, of all the ones I watched, this is by far the most beautiful Christine, the most convincing Christine. She is ethereal. She looks a little bit like Galadriel. She is. She really makes the movie, and she does most of the acting. Raoul looks like he's about 50 years old. He doesn't do much in the show, really, and for most of the show you see the Phantom in silhouette, which is scary enough. This version includes the Persian, and it emphasizes how the Phantom is obsessed with love for Christina. Not all of the movies actually even talk about that. So this is truer to the book because his obsession with Christine for her sake, for love of her, is the main theme in the book. He was by far the scariest phantom. Lon Chaney, I don't know how he did this, but he has this enormous mouthful of teeth that and hardly can barely see his eyes. It's very scary looking. And in this backstory, he wasn't born with a deformed. Well, maybe he was, but he escapes from an insane asylum. He's crazy, considered to be crazy, and they do they do the best job they can depicting the crazy mirror torture chamber scene. And unlike the book, it ends with not a car chase, but a carriage chase. And Christine jumps out of the carriage, and the mob chases the Phantom and beat him up, throw him in the river. So that was pretty good. I'll tell you right now, before we get to the end of these, that this is my favorite one. I liked it the best. Now, the next one is a 1943 one starring Nelson Eddy, Susanna Foster, and Claude Rains as the Phantom. Claude Rains has such a pleasant face that he really doesn't make a very convincing Phantom. But he wears this mask. It has cat eyes and kind of goes like this. He looks like a cat and not terribly scary. So this one changes, and the next one after this, changed the plot of the story significantly. Instead of the Phantom being the third person of the Raoul-Christine love triangle, instead, they invent a character, and another opera singer named Anatole. And Raoul in this story is a police officer, not a viscount. The Phantom himself is, he's not in love with Christine. He just has a backstory, which is different than the book, where he was a musician. He was the first violinist in the opera orchestra. And he writes a beautiful concerto, and he takes it to the publisher. The publisher is a really evil person who steals his manuscript and claims it as his own. So the violinist sneaks in at night to get his manuscript and spills acid on his face. So his face is destroyed, and the printer gets killed in the conflict, and he escapes. He jumps into a canal, which somehow ended him up in the basement of the opera house. So he is mostly interested in Christine because she has a beautiful voice, and he wants someone who can sing the music he's written. So he drags her down to his lair to give her music lessons and pretty much exhausts her. But this movie has everything, though. It has a exciting chandelier falling down scene. Franz Liszt makes an appearance playing the concerto that the Phantom wrote, and he's defeated when the basement completely collapses, and he's dead and his body's not found. So there's no romance, just no excessive, obsessive love for Christina. And there's even a hint that he may actually be her father, which might explain why there's no romance. This one has fantastic operatic production. In fact, many people say, who have watched this, that there's too much opera and not enough horror. I like opera. And the opera singing in this version of the movie was fantastic, just really beautiful, and just luscious sets. And they're playing actual opera. They're not playing just made up stuff, just made up for the movie. So, however, this reminds me of a thing. When I was playing this particular one, the lady that played Christine was on stage singing a very high soprano role, and it was very unpleasant to hear. It wasn't beautiful. It was, dare I say, screechy and shrill. And I noticed when I watch old movies like that, when they're singing like this, it sounds very unpleasant. And I wonder if our taste for that kind of music has changed over the years. In fact, my husband heard it and came in and said, "Do you really like that kind of music? Who likes that kind of music?" And I said, "I don't know, but I think tastes have changed." So this movie had horses, acrobats, Franz Liszt, a lot of things, except it's not true to the plot. Now, the 1962 movie has Herbert Lom, or maybe Lom, I don't know, as a phantom. And there's no Raoul, but there is a replacement for him, a fellow named Harry Hunter. He's the love interest, and he investigates strange happenings at the opera house. He seems to have some managerial job there. And during the course of his investigations, he discovers that the Phantom is actually a Dr. Petrie, who was a person, a musician, talented musician, who it was believed he was killed during a fire at the printer's house. So you see this printer story comes in again. There's another printer who stole his music. And the antagonist in this story is Lord Ambrose, and he is a real mustache twirler. He's a very lecherous creep, and he wants to seduce our sweet Christine. And he owned the print shop, and he once stole his music. So basically, it's the same backstory, the 1943 one and the 1962 story and the 1943 story. The operatic scenes in this movie were not very good, not as good as the 1943 one, in my opinion. Like the earlier one, he's more interested in her singing than in romance. Then comes the famous 2004 one, the Frank Lloyd Webber movie based on his famous musical. This one really emphasizes the romance, the love triangle between Raoul, Christine, and the Phantom is forefront. In the story, a Phantom is born disfigured. His back story is the same as the books. The chandelier crash. This one starts a big fire and practically destroys the opera building. And in this one, the opera building, and I would say in the Lon Chaney one too, the opera building itself is one of the characters for sure. It is a huge building with corridors and catwalks, and not to speak of the basements with its lake and all. And in this Frank Lloyd Webber one, the building is quite spooky, very spooky. And of course, it has that famous music, it has that song, The Shadows of the Night. No, it's not called that. It's called The Music of the Night. The Music of the Night. And those famous organ chords, da, 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 da. Oh, it's great. So it was a load of fun to write or watch. I enjoyed it. It's number 2. I think the next one I liked best was the 1943 one, and I think the one I liked the least was the 1962 one. I enjoyed watching them all. I watched them over a 2-day period while I was busy knitting on a Christmas present that I'm a little behind on. So it was a fun couple days. I just really, one of the interesting things about these movies is how styles change. Because in the 1925 one, that's kind of in the Art Nouveau era, and the styles were actually very pleasing. But when we got to the 1943 one, in the 1962 one, the styles were not as pleasing, and of course everybody looked great in the 2004 one. So that is Phantom of the Opera. I never expected to get so involved with watching these movies and all that. I enjoyed it a lot. And now for the ratings. I give the book an 8 out of 10. It's not really great literature. It started out really well, but petered out. The next, as far as the movies go, I give the Lon Chaney one, the 1925 one, I'll give that a 10 out of 10. It was great. I'll give the 1943 one a 9 out of 10. Maybe even another 10 out of 10. It was really good. The 1962 one, not so good. Give it an 8 out of 10. The 2004, Well, it's got some fantastic music, but I'll give it a 9 out of 10, I guess. So that's it. As usual, I have some what I call audio typos, verbal typos, for which I am sorry. And anyway, I'm working on our next book. It's going to take a while. It's another long one. But I should be back by next Tuesday if all goes well. So thank you very much, and go read a good book.